What's up? What's up? What's up? I am so happy to be here. For those of you that are just joining us live, of course, this is the uncut version. I've had to remind these two yahoos multiple times before this podcast started. I'm Jennifer Bagley, your host and the CEO of CEO Web Group, and I am very, very happy to have two BFFs here with us that have been friends for many, many years. But more importantly, these are two significant industry leaders, Mr. Darren Dixon, CEO and founder of fyxify, and George Donaldson, CEO and the chief in charge over at the Fixit Group. And you guys, today, this is an, I think we're in a transformative time. And I think this is a perfect topic for everybody that is tuning in because you've got access to people that are out there leading the charge currently right now in the relative space, as well as that are thinking forward as far as how technology is changing. Consumers are changing. The industry is changing. I'm going to give you an example before we roll in real quick for both of you guys. In my space, my feed is filled with information regarding how AI is giving Google a run for its money. In the last, they say it means to give something. Hey Google, stop. Right. Fair.
Google.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
You offended Google.
I am getting notices from the OG, that they are obviously having a heart attack right now. In the last 90 days, since AI search engines have launched, over 1 billion people have moved from Google to an AI search engine. They're anticipating 30% of consumers will move away from traditional search on Google and move to on G. Okay. And start utilizing an AI search engine, whether it's on your Meta glasses or if it's on this little thing that keeps interrupting me or on your phone or whatever it is. In an AI environment, there are no paid ads. There's no LSA. There's no Google Maps with all of your reviews. Put that to the side. They're expecting 30% of total search volume to move away from where the majority of home service companies are generating their business right now. And we can add on private equity and we can add on conglomerates that are buying up homes and so forth, right? On top of that, you have an entire industry that is almost 80 to 90% of the entire industry is currently sitting on a slow platform, WordPress, that is in lawsuits with their own company, with major hosting providers, that's had a mass exodus, that has been failing to keep up with AI and is potentially at risk. Their own CEO said this may be the demise of WordPress. The entire industry is sitting on technology that is crumbling and not advancing, an entire space where consumers are evolving, no different than the mass exodus of all of the younger generation from Facebook to Twitter when they left and said, I'm just going to leave the old people over there. These are just two of the major changes that leaders right now should be addressing and putting in everything that they have to protect themselves and plan for the future. And I know you guys have other elements that are part of this. From your point of view, what are the top things that you are preparing for, either that are sitting in front of you right now or that you anticipate we need to pay attention to, we need to pivot, we need to transform and adjust for within just the next 12 months, let alone 3 years? Darren.
Well, one of the things that you were, as you were saying this, I was thinking about is that Alphabet stopped reporting Google's search numbers, or actually Alphabet stopped reporting Google's numbers because of search decline independently of Alphabet's overall numbers to the market 36 months ago, okay? Because search was declining so badly that they were trying to keep their stock price up, right? So this is not new, right? This is you're starting to watch the curve start to mature and grow. And so the part about what you said, Jen, that I think is so important is that it's actually a step before any of this. It's, if you think about search, you got to think about people who are searching, right? So if search is down, is it really because there's some technology that is better than search, or is it fewer people are searching? Okay. So George and I have a common mentor, right? And probably everybody on here knows that George and I are close friends and have been for a long time. And we share a mentor in Jim Abrams. And Jim used to say all the time, like, I'm hot as mother, so I'm taking that off. Sorry. Jim used to say all the time that that superpowers and of the world in the past have always been superpowers because of a control of distribution of something. So if you think about how that distills down to our industry, you have to ask yourself, how is the control of distribution of customers that fall into that same class, right? And so while yes, AI is already proving, ChatGPT and everything else is proving to serve the consumer's desire better. It really, we have data that shows that there's fewer people searching. And you and I both know this because, what was it, 2.5, 3 years ago, we started doing that research project, and we could see that there were significantly fewer people searching than had been in the past. So from our point of view, we relate that back to a business model. We relate that back to how do consumers want to do business, and then we look at technology.
George?
Look, I've been in this industry 27 years now. I'm going to age myself. Over that period of time, I mean, we can all remember when advertising was, yellow pages. Then it became like a magnet on the yellow pages. And then suddenly yellow pages were just gone, I feel like, overnight. Then it became, many different sources of advertising, but eventually digital. AI has come up in the last 12 months, not just marketing. So, right now we're talking about this kind of in a marketing sense, but you look at the world, AI just in the last 12 months in our space. I mean, 12 months ago, definitely 24 months ago, you probably couldn't find a single company in the entire industry that was using AI for anything. And already, in just a snap of a finger, AI is running many call centers. AI is now riding along with technicians. AI is now teaching technicians how to better and quicker diagnose systems. Even though you still need a human going into a home, and AI is not going to take over that. AI is taking over a lot of our industry. And I would say more than half, I don't know the percentage, but more than half of the industry, small business owners out there don't even know that's happened.
Right.
Somebody might listen to this and be like, what? AI can run a call center? AI, what's AI? They're looking up, what does AI mean? I mean, because they're not changing. It's always changing. And if you're not understanding where the changes are, you're going to get left behind. And you've seen it throughout all of history, in not just our space, any business, right? And just the world. Technology is ever changing. And AI, it's actually scary how fast, and you can't stop it. So you might as well take advantage of it and be in front of it and be on top of it as much as you possibly can be, because you're going to get left behind if not. I mean, look, 12 months ago, my own company didn't have AI anything. And today, we're using a lot of AI in just a short period of time because, we've learned and found out and realized different AI products that there are super effective in launching our business forward. But if we don't do these things, we're going to get left behind and we're going to go backwards.
Yeah, 100%. I think the key point was that a lot of companies don't even know it's coming. I mean,
how can they? I mean, look, you know, who are the pioneers? You've got the George Donaldsons, you've got the Geigers, you've got the Goodriches, you've got the Leland Smiths, and I don't want to offend anybody by omitting any names. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and name every single person that I know that has $100+ million business, because it would take too long. But realistically, all of them are trying to use tools to create a more efficient version of an old business model. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, everything about having, you know, like having your phone in your pocket, listening to a conversation that's ultimately telling you know, coaching your technician how to sell to the customer better, or you're using it to answer a phone call more effectively, or to increase a booking rate, or to reduce a operational expense by being able to use AI for after-hour calls, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, is a component of trying to make a business model that was focused in one area perform better. And so if you take, then you have below that level of expertise, you have like a quasi influencers, right? The people that took what they learned from those folks and decided that they were going to try to go out and teach everybody how they became so successful. But in reality, if you think about, is any of that really designed to change the consumer's experience? I mean, I would challenge you to identify an area that it is, outside of being able to, you know, could I call a company at 11:59 p.m. and get an AI agent to book a call? That's an improvement to a consumer experience, right?
Get better.
But there's steps after it. All I'm trying to say is that people like George, people like some of these other companies that are focusing on making sure that the consumer's experience is good inside the home, not just how effectively did we use AI to get ourselves in your home, has to be taken into consideration.
Look, throughout history, we've all been trying to figure out how to give a consistent experience to the client. People have tried franchising, people have tried systems. It's impossible to do. I mean, I have a system, and I think, you know, the client gets an experience from my companies similar more often than not, but it's impossible because you have people that are doing it, right? So you have people answering the phone, you have people outbounding, people saying scripts that you want them to say, but how often does it really happen? You know, AI in a call center, you're going to have it happen the way you want it
100% of the time.
I don't know if anything's 100%, but let's call it 90, you know, 90% of the time. And now you have a better chance of getting the right habits from your field people with AI technology that now rides with them and gives them feedback, gives management feedback on, well, this is where they missed within your system and how you want it. AI's learned our system, our sales system, which is very unique to the entire industry. It's now learned our system and will tell us he missed key 5 or he hit key. I mean, it's so accurate. It'll tell us he hit key 5, but he wasn't really sincere.
Right.
Like, what? It's right. I'm telling you, it's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. So our client experience now the client experience is, if used right, if the AI tools are used, your client experience is going to be better. You're going to lose less clients.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out how to get more new clients more often from AI, great. But at the end of the day, what we want to be better at, what we've all been trying to be better at, is not losing clients. Because most of the time when you lose a client, you don't know. They just quietly go away. And you figure out, if you even watch the data, that this client hasn't used me in 5 years. They're obviously not a client of mine anymore. And I lost that client at some point. I don't know why. It could have been a call center, could have been a tech, could have been an installer, could have been any. It only takes one person to lose the client, right?
Yep.
The client experience is the biggest thing that I think AI is going to help fix for those who use AI, and we will lose less clients if we have the right system and if we really care about the client experience, and then use AI to create a more consistent client experience. So if a client's ecstatic about the service they just got, and then they get that same service every time, and then it becomes an expectation, you're never going to lose that client.
Yeah, 100%. In our own business, I'll give you an example of how we've implemented it. Maybe it'll spark some additional conversation as well. We had a team that was a CRO team, conversion rate optimization team, all 6-figure people. Their job was to identify, create multiple versions of each page, whether it's in a paid ads environment or in an SEO environment, and determine which page performs better. Drop the least performing one, add another example, drop the least performing one. Each person could handle two projects at the same time. They needed 6 months of data to be able to make that theory, to run that theory and get data out to be able to make a decision. With our new environment, we now have an AI-enabled web platform that has AI-enabled conversion rate optimization that can generate 1,000 versions of a single page, different call to actions, different variations, different images, different promotions, and it can run them at any time, any day, depending on device, time of the day, and so forth. And it can auto change the website to produce the best result based on last night's learning, the night before, the night before, the night before.
That's what gets me excited. Okay. What gets me excited is that you're talking about a dynamic experience that's tied to the individual. And, we started focusing on that. Look, if you go to iHeartMedia, okay, one of the largest media companies in the United States, iHeartMedia started using data of the consumer buying pattern to identify how to market their podcasts to consumers. To listeners, right? So they looked at, because of the link between IP address and physical address, and the ability to now start to use IP address with physical address to identify, do you like tools? Do you like guns? Do you like skiing? Do you like, what is it that you like, right?
Yep.
That they could start to get dynamic in the experience on how to advertise podcasts to people. And so, we looked at this, started looking at this 24 months ago and said the same thing is, how can we make that experience dynamic? And that's what I love about how forward thinking you are about this. But can I just kind of go out on a limb and say something? Yeah. The problem in our industry is the second sale. The need for the second sale. Okay. As a consumer, do you like to be drawn in by one advertisement offering one benefit, but then really it's the second sale that has to be made that gets dumped on you when you get there? It's like, look, you can go all the way back to when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, they used to have these little Speedy Lube places all over the place, and you could pop in for a $16.99 oil change. But before you left, you got pounded, right, with all this other shit that you needed to buy. And our industry right now is using AI and using all this advancement this is just my point of view, to promote the efficacy of the second sale instead of just get better at the first sale. Make the first sale what's profitable. Don't make the second sale what needs to be profitable. Don't rely on just the second sale to become profitable.
Are you talking about the second sale like an add-on to that sale? Yeah,
I'm saying like how many companies, not you, George, you guys look, you guys do an amazing job at offering a true value on a tune-up, and then you blow your customers away with the level of service that you give them, and you build such a high level of trust that the consumer wants to hear more from your team members because of the fact that they've been so thorough. But that's
it still leads to a second sale. But you don't feel like the difference is the experience, right? You don't feel like you're being sold.
No, because you do it authentically. Okay. Yep. your whole company is authentic, is that there is a real opportunity in a certain percentage of those jobs that leads to a second sale. That's not the way the rest of the industry treats it.
Yep.
Okay. You are an anomaly. The rest of the industry manipulates consumers in this experience to offer them something that feels like this amazing deal. $29 tune-up. Holy shit. I'm going to get a $29 tune-up, but that only works if the second sale is made. And the second sale is really their intention. George, what I've experienced in watching you guys very closely and scrutinizing, I mean, look, yeah, we're like best friends, but that it doesn't mean it does. Hey, George will tell me when he thinks I'm wrong, and I'll tell him when I think he's wrong. I watch what they do so closely, and I know the authenticity of really giving the consumer so much value that they want to hear more from you. That business model is very, very, very rare. It's very rare. You got. Can I say? I'm not sure how much I can say. You've got some companies out there that are offering $9 tune-ups. Do you really think that $9 tune-up is a model of blow their mind with service so that there's this, long-lasting second relationship? No, it's.
Yeah, but what I found is those people that have those $9, whatever, it doesn't matter what the price is, tune-ups, leave there with $9 and then they go away from it. So every competitor I study that tries to undercut like our actual cleaning, so we could say cleaning, they can't because we actually clean the system.
Holy shit.
And when I watch other competitors they always go away from it. And I usually know somebody in the inside that'll tell me they get a bunch of complaints from their technicians because what happens is their technician gets there, the client thinks this is too good to be true. They're going to try to sell me something. And sure as shit, 10 minutes in, the guy's trying to sell them something, not do anything else, not tune anything up, not clean anything. And then they're getting kicked out of the house and the client never uses them again. They wasted all that money in advertising and they left with $9 and they lose their butt, right? So they cut it and they go away from it because they don't understand what we're talking about.
So we process thousands and thousands and thousands of service calls a year through the fyxify platform. And you would be amazed, maybe you wouldn't, George wouldn't, you'd be amazed to find out how many companies do not actually perform cleanings. A maintenance is not really a maintenance. A maintenance is an inspection. It's let me come in and find the stuff to sell you, as opposed to coming in and literally cleaning your system and then earning that customer's trust and the ongoing relationship. It's mind-blowing. I can't believe it. I'm like, what about the 21-point, cleaning? And they're like, oh, no, it's just an inspection. And so everything that George is saying is right. And it comes back down to it, Jennifer, as far as I'm concerned, is how many people really understand what the customer wants?
Well, so let me ask you guys a question. In every other industry, they've identified that when the consumer is left to go through the evaluation and buying process in their own safe space, i.e. an online transaction, they always buy more.
Right.
They always buy more, right? If I'm going through and buying a Tesla, I'm adding on all the bells and whistles. I'm picking the best tires. I'm picking all this stuff. If I have to sit with the salesperson in my face, breathing and making his recommendations, I immediately have a defensive wall. I'm looking for the best deal. It doesn't matter if you're going through a drive-through. You're going to get somebody that adds 5 layers to their stuff and 3 pieces of cheese they would have never added if they were standing and had to say all that crazy stuff at an order taker, right? How does that apply to this industry? How do you evolve to that point? How do we give the consumer more ability to choose without putting up the wall? Is that part of?
Well, let's go. Why do you think that is, Jennifer? So first off, what is the issue with the consumer?
Not trusting people.
They don't trust them, right? So I used to hate this about our industry, but now I love it because we exploit it, and that's how we scale so fast. We keep our clients and take other people's clients. We're really good at this, understanding this, exactly what we're talking about. Our whole model is the understanding of that exact topic right there. They don't trust. They think they've already had this happen to them probably several times. They think the guy's going to just try to sell me something. And if the process feels that, I already think that. So it's going to be difficult to change my mind.
Right.
And so when somebody comes in and now confirming what I already think, you're toast. Our whole process is to change the client's mindset and perception long before we're ever trying to recommend anything. And anything that we recommend is 100%. Look, our technicians are not allowed to sell new equipment. They're just flat out in any company we have, the first guy that we advertise that to, because we know the client doesn't want a technician because they think he's going to just try to sell me a new one. We tell the client in our advertising, we won't do that. Our technicians are not allowed to sell you new equipment. And because we know that's what the client wants. We know that's what the client fears. And so when a client's online, they're in the driver's seat. They're putting everything, they're understanding, they're paying attention, they're engaging with the computer, learning and seeing. You know, many people are visual. They're seeing what they want and they're clicking buttons and adding it. And so Darren's created a virtual sales system that we use in Dallas, and we are piloting now in our other branches. We've perfected it in Dallas, is what I should say, kind of within our model and our system. And it does exactly that. The client, our sales guys aren't even there with them anymore in Dallas. And guess what? Our sales close rate is consistently over 60%. We've had it for a month, for a team in a month, not a guy. And we've had months that were 84%. And a higher average ticket. Now, why? Because the client is in the driver's seat. The client's picking. The client, it's a very seamless process. Client's feedback is they freaking love it. And that's where the world's going. Again, technology. But that system works because of how we treat the client in the front end, right? If we ever get to this point that I'm talking about in our center, we've been there 2-3 hours cleaning, showing, doing an amazing job for what might be $39. And we might only leave there $39. Many times we do, but guess what? That client will use us again. We're there to really serve the client. And if we really truly serve the client and really understand the long-term the lifetime value of a client, that's what a lot of our industry, that's really what we're talking about. The client, the industry, wants to turn them and burn them, wants to get as much as they can right now, and doesn't really want to serve the client. And that's why, with our space is much more competitive right now than it's ever been in history. There's much more private equity, much more consolidation, much more sophistication, and now much more combined with that, those larger companies, that sophistication, the money they have to spend in marketing, and the understanding of technology and how to implement it. It really is trouble for the smaller companies. I mean, it is. Yeah. And it's the reason why a lot of companies have struggled now in 23 and 24, the entire industry as a whole has went up, but that's a small percentage of large companies that have really grown, and a much larger percent of smaller companies that went backwards. And it's only going to continue to happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. This is how do you essentially you guys have ensured that you've got a systemized approach for doing a comprehensive evaluation each and every time. You've got data-driven insights and a presentation that the consumer is left with in an app-based environment with technology recommendations instead of a sales pitch. And you guys have allowed the consumer to choose. That in itself is different than the majority of the entire industry.
Well, there's another big issue here. And it's so first of all, I would say that how many people in this industry even use language like lifetime value? Like almost none. And how many people do you hear in this industry talking about retention rate? Almost none. How many people in this industry understand cost of acquisition? Almost none. How many understand what the cost of acquisition relative to the lifetime value should be? Next to none. So there's that, but there's even more. And sometimes, you know, when they say you can't see the forest because of the trees, you're so close and you're so focused on looking at how things are that you don't recognize what they are becoming. And, you know, the beauty and the curse of the last 5 years of my life has been focusing on the industry. You know, you hear people that are like, oh, you work in your business.
In it.
You need, you know, you're working in your business. You need to be working on your business. And then I look at it as working and understanding on the industry. And I've had the good fortune and curse over the last 5 years to be looking at the industry. And if you understood, or if you could see and understand the moves that are being made by very, very, very large multi-billion-dollar companies that recognize how valuable home services are, you would, I mean, it might scare the shit out of you, because you would realize that, oh my God, I'm trying to copy this business model that I don't really know what even to do unless I see so-and-so do it, you know?
And most of the business models that are being copied are ancient.
My point about new gimmicks to try to accomplish the old thing. And then you have authentic shit. Like I don't want to seem contradictory. There are very authentic versions of good service for customers, okay? But if you look at a much bigger picture and you realize that there are companies in the US, worldwide, but let's talk about the US because that's really what affects us, that have millions and millions of customers.
Homes.
Yes, homeowners that are their customers, okay? Mm-hmm. That tangentially are not really what we would call home service businesses. They call themselves home service businesses, and they've got more customers than anybody in our industry has. And they're looking at how do we leverage those relationships into incremental monthly recurring revenue models,
subscription models.
Yep. And it's like, it doesn't even matter how good we are at booking the lead. It doesn't matter how good we are at, you know, at putting the customer in the right frame of mind when our technician arrives, or how great the relationship is. There's something way upstream. It's upstream that is reducing the amount of customers that are available to organizations. And the reason, you know, George was talking about smaller companies suffering. And why? Because there's less fish hitting the pond.
So,
and who do you think is going to have a better chance at getting those fish out of the pond? Companies that have a larger footprint, a larger marketing budget, a more succinct business strategy, a more succinct, comprehensive, and consistent experience for the customer. But we have to be paying attention to what's happening upstream.
These smaller companies can figure it out, but if you keep doing what you've always done, you know, there's a saying that if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get what you've always gotten.
No,
you're going to get a lot. In this case, you're going to get a lot less than what you've always gotten.
A lot less.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
And so it's just about learning and quickly learning, adapting, changing, getting your team on board. It's still leading, right? It's all still leading, but leading in what technology is in today's world. Using the right vendors, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people, not some of these guys that, you know, have grown one company and got lucky in the 2020 timeframe, or, you know, some of these social media whores that just love to, if somebody's out there like promoting the hell out of themselves on social media, I'd say run. Usually it's the people that really truly want to be helpful to you and people, whoever, you know, are around them, that have done it multiple times, that are doing it in today's world and understanding the changes from the past with the changes that are happening today, that you really want to surround yourself with.
I've never met an authentic person that described themselves as an industry expert. Like I've never met someone who was authentic that went on something and said, use my system. And it's like the Ron Popeil like method of, of home services. Like I've never met anybody like that. And,
it's true.
I'm just saying, like,
it's true.
I mean, look, I'm just saying it's true. And
about peacock.
Peacocking.
Peacocking, you got.
I'm pretty sure I heard you think that.
I've never worn leather pants. I don't think George ever has. So
we're gonna pivot on that.
All I'm saying is that this is an act of servitude. Okay, like all you got to do is go back to like Good to Great. Like go back to the best business books and training that there is. Like level 5 leadership does not want to be in the forefront. They do not want to be receiving recognition. It's why? Because they're just
doing the work,
working they're
doing the freaking work.
They're just working their asses off, and it ain't sexy. It's not sexy. It's
not easy.
Stressful, and it's hard,
and it's not deep.
No, and you know what? I mean, so anyway, like if you think you're going to get rich by selling information is completely different than people who are successful at doing. Jim used to say this: those who can do, those who can't teach.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Remember, George? You say that all the time. Those that can, they do.
So let me summarize this for everyone, because this can get a little theoretical and it's difficult for everyone to process. So imagine that all of your business, it's this giant circle, and there are slivers of this circle, a big pie, and these slivers are expanding as far as what's being taken off the market. So for example, the number of conglomerates coming in and buying residential properties, turning them into VRBOs, Airbnbs, rental properties. That takes a sliver of the pie and it pulls it off the market where you're not dealing directly with the home consumer. That's one, right? It could be an energy company in your market that's already selling energy services that now comes out and gives an offer to their companies. It says, did you know with your energy bill, we can just increase it by X dollars, and now we can give you a brand new heating and air conditioning system. That's another sliver that's changing, right? It could be Home Depot. It could be all of the companies that are in your local market that are hammering home, understand lifetime value. They're hammering home maintenance agreements. They're creating real clubs, real connections. They're pulling consumers off of search. They're pulling them off of the market, and they're putting a ring on that household and saying, this is my baby, right? Yeah. Every one of these slivers starts to pull more and more of the traditional opportunity that you think you're going after. It pulls it off the market, narrowing the options you have available to go get more at bats.
Yeah, I mean, you're out marketing to people that are never going to contact you. I can tell you that in Texas alone, we have over 250,000 customers in Texas alone that use our platform. Okay. Because of the fact that those customers are connected to a utility company that offers service to their customers and connects them to the platform, fyxify platform, that then turns around and distributes those service calls down to the service providers in that market that are able to and willing to and want to take those service calls. And for a significantly less cost of acquisition. Every single one of those calls are profitable. So this industry is in a time period in which it has to become profitable at the first sale, not only by the second sale. Because if it doesn't happen, you're going to see a lot of companies become resources for larger platforms. And it's already happened today. I mean, there are companies that fyxify does business with that are Fortune 125 and better publicly traded companies who are utilizing technology to take customers who've already made a decision and get a service provider in the home. So it's like a redistribution. we started earlier in the call talking about superpowers and distribution models. Jim used to tell me all the time that every superpower in the world had a control of distribution of something. So, Jen, when we did our study, we saw that we looked at the Texas market, and we said that based on a service cycle and how many searches that should mean, it would mean X amount of searches, and it was like half what it should have meant. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So what you're talking about, what Darren's talking about, is a market analysis and a demand forecast. With a market analysis, you would identify the total number of homes in a market. You would anticipate for those homes that are residentially owned in that market, you would have X number of potential repair work based on a 2.25 repair cycle. You'd have X number of replacements based on a 10-year replacement cycle. And then you utilize a demand forecast to evaluate, of the total available replacements in this market, what percent of those consumers, based on search volume, what percent of those consumers are proactive versus reactive.
Yep. And fewer searching, period.
So, and it's not even just the searches. So, now they're not searching in the same place. It was interesting. I used to tell all of our commercial clients that, it's just a handshake. You're not going to go to traditional search. Don't spend money on paid ads and Google search. And oddly enough, we had to build our own reporting platform that shows us the search traffic that is now coming from Perplexity and Claude and GPT search and Gemini and all of these AI search engines, because Google is preventing us from seeing that information. It's hiding it, and they're not going to show us where this is coming from. But now we're seeing that search volume is actually increasing in AI search because consumers are able to avoid the ads and get the answers quickly. So, but what is also happening in an interest, this is all this is new data from like the last 30 days. This isn't like I have 6 months of historical data. These are all aha moments that we're having to create through significant technology investments. But on top of that, interesting, I'm in Lufkin, Texas, doing a search for doing an AI search. I was just visiting with the AI, asking for a home service company to come fix my air conditioning system in Lufkin, Texas. And in the AI models, all of them skipped our client, who is the largest company in that market. You could see, because it'll tell you what websites it referenced. It skipped our customer's website and showed the smallest companies in that market, not the major one, because the platform they're operating on, WordPress, is too slow for the AI agent to crawl.
So the company with 1,000 pages is basically at a disadvantage.
Well, not if you don't have 35,000 lines of code, because we've done the same thing in Los Angeles, and we're the one of 3 options for a heating and air conditioning company smack dab in Los Angeles. I could never get them onto page 1 of Google. They don't have enough budget. It's too competitive, impossible. But for the AI search, when we put them into a low-code application that functions like an app, and we rewrote all of their content to be focused on the consumer, not on the keyword and the search term and the geo-target, but focused on answering the consumer's questions. The same thing, the same conversation you would have sitting at the table with them. That's what the content has to be about. We rewrote 100% of the content. We put them in a low-code environment. And now in Los Angeles, we're one of 3 options in an AI search. So the distribution of search volume is changing. And I guarantee that anybody relying on paid ads over the next 6 to 12 months is going to feel like they just had another election year when those consumers move off of traditional search over to an AI search that gives them exactly what they're looking for in milliseconds.
You just described redistribution.
That's what's happening right now.
You just described redistribution. YouTube. I was watching a video this morning of the YouTube founders. They were stressed out because they only had 50 videos that had shown up on YouTube. Okay. It was funny in preparation, kind of like for this, but you just described redistribution, because in the past you could use dollars to control distribution.
And you can't now.
Technology is the antithesis of that. Technology is about redistribution. And the thing that's very interesting, and I look, we only have like 11 minutes left. I got to say this. If you aren't paying attention to the fact that the average American household cannot sustain an unexpected expense of $1,000, okay? And in this home service market that we're in, if you're not paying attention to that, and how do you combat that, and how do you utilize that, and what systems do you use to make sure that that helps you, then you're not doing business with the scalable market. Look, I used to say to myself, when we were creating fyxify, I told Whitney, I was like, look, eventually what's going to happen is once we get this proven, okay, is that it's either going to be a utility company, it's going to be a search company like Google, it's going to be like an online retailer like Amazon, or it's going to be a manufacturer. That's who's going to grab this, and they're going to get it. With that being said, I said the hardest thing that I have to accept is that we've been premier service providers for so long. We, the booties and the 100% satisfaction guarantee and everything that we did to build this model that still is in place today. When I say we, I mean the team, like George and me and Jim and all the people, Rebecca, and all the people that were so significantly part of Terry, part of this thing, Jimmy, okay? That's like being Nordstrom's. Would you rather be Nordstrom's or would you rather be Walmart? The hardest part about being Nordstrom's is that they're $4 billion. Walmart's $588 billion, okay? The hardest part about being Walmart is that you have to have a model that's designed to do business with a larger group of people. That's the scale issue that we have that's coming up in this industry. And I'm telling you from, you talked about, okay, distill this down into something that means something for everybody. Well, like, how do I turn this into something actionable? Number one, you should be definitely focused on giving the absolute best service that you can give. Absolute best service that you can give. But if you're not paying attention to these massively large platforms that are bringing subscription-based products to the market, you'll be working for them.
All right. Everyone write that one down. George, leave us with a couple items that you believe are the catalyst for change.
Look, I think these, especially we're talking to mostly independent business owners, right? There's a business that I was looking at recently that I've known of for a while, know the owner, and over time in a big marketplace. And we ended up finding that over the last few years, his client base has really dwindled. He's increased his gross margins and his prices to offset because he had to. But today, there's only 2,100. And this is a client base of like long-time client base of like over 100,000 people in the client base over history, right? But only 2,100 people have used the company in the last 2 years. That's an active client. And look, this data that I'm talking about, like you need to know your data, and most of the people listening probably don't know their data. You got to find out how many clients do I have that have used me over the last 24 months. If they haven't used you over the last 24 months, they're not a client anymore. You could pretty much just count on that. And even if they have used you in 24 months, that doesn't mean they're definitely a client. Just more of those people are. So that's an active client. And 1,800 out of that 2,100, their systems are under 5 years old. And he's cut back on marketing significantly because he realized it just wasn't, or he thought he wasn't very effective. I don't know. But instead of becoming more effective and still spending the money, cut back on marketing, mine the client base. And now this company is actually in a position that if somebody doesn't buy it,
It's going to go
which
out.
is way less valuable, because look, everybody looks at this data. We know every buyer looks at these things. If he doesn't, he's still going to have his overhead expense, and he's going to start to lose money. Then he's going to start to have to cut, and then good people are going to be scared. They're going to leave, and suddenly he's going to be under. And so I would tell people, start to understand when you should either change with times and be more sophisticated and get ahead of what's changing right now and keep growing your business, or look to partner with a bigger successful platform sooner than later. Don't wait till you're going backwards, because your company is way more valuable than whatever it is today than it will be at that time. And I'll tell you, there's platforms like mine. We just went to round 2, change private equity groups. Our group is now allowing me to spend $7 to $8 million above our normal 10% budget that we budget, above it, and giving it to me as an ad back for a year. You think I'm going to take a lot of market share in our markets?
100%.
I'm going to take a ton of market share. And look, there's other platforms that do some of the same things. So when you got how do you compete with that to gain more clients, which is what we're talking about? The pie is getting much smaller. It's getting much more competitive. So be smart about.
That's awesome.
At the end of the day, like, be really smart and different about how I'm going to grow my client base, or reach out to people that might help. It might be a better time to exit if you look at this data as it going backwards. Understand your company and your data. Some basic things I just said, people don't even know their numbers.
100%.
George, I think what you just said, most people on this call don't even understand what you just said. Let me just distill what George just said. I learned by building a technology company, not an air conditioning or home service business, by building a technology company that if your lifetime value, you look at your lifetime value of a customer, if your cost of acquisition is 33% or less of the lifetime value of that customer, that is considered to be good acquisition structure. Think about what George just said. He just said that he could go $7 to $10 million past his acquisition structure, and they're going to give it to him as an ad back because he's buying the future. He's buying the future.
Right.
Guys, listen. You've got to get mobbed up. You don't have the cash flow to do what George just said. That's why the industry is in the place that it's in. You need to get structured. You need to get focused. And you need to, again, I go back to what Jim and John used to say on stage how many years ago? 15 years ago. The time's going to come where you better mob up. You need to get connected to people like George that understand this piece and can help you actually stay in business, because otherwise you will not have the cash flow to do it. Especially if you're, what are you supposed to do if you're functioning at 10% EBITDA or less? At 10% EBITDA or less, you don't have the cash to buy the future. You're stuck in the process the way it works today.
And then the first thing they cut is marketing.
And then the first thing that they cut is marketing. I've watched it a million times.
And here's the thing. I would help somebody make an exit plan or a plan to grow their business and sell sometime in the future for free.
Right.
Now, why would I do that? Because some people will end up partnering with in the future. Some would be now, and some will be never. And I don't care, because at the end of the day, I really enjoy helping people. And if that means some of those people and me end up on the same team, awesome. If not, and they're super successful, I got many of those stories. I love it. I don't care. I really just want to help people, and I would do that for free.
So here's the deal, just to sum this up, and this is probably not going to sound very nice. Cut this shit. It's taking too long. It takes us too long to process. We're bedazzled by crap that's on the internet that is just showboating. It's not real.
These guys don't own their own airplanes. They're renting them.
Yes.
Except Ken. Ken owns his. But I mean, seriously, like, shit,
So
man.
if you don't cut this shit and be able to get to brass tacks very, very fast, velocity matters, speed matters, transformation matters right now.
Yeah.
You are going to wish you did. And this is for marketing. This is for being an entrepreneur. This is your financials. This is how to run a business. My guess is everyone that's listening to this didn't sit down with someone like Darren or someone like George or someone like me who's been through this before, that has a freaking roadmap that you follow, and you build a business based on the roadmap. George can sit down with you in 5 minutes and say, this is the list of questions you're going to get asked that you need to have answers for if you plan on exiting your business. Whether you plan to exit or not, that was the original checklist you should have started your business with, period.
You know what we used to say, Ken? You know what we used to say? Build a business that everyone else wants to buy that you want to keep.
Right. This is not something, I know it just takes too long to process, right? There's a lot of decisions. I got to meet with 5 different companies. If you're talking to a digital agency, get out of WordPress. Don't trust me. Go to Google, type in WordPress legal battle. Go read their own CEO's comments. If you are not rewriting 100% of your content right now for consumers that are able to talk to any device and ask it all the same questions, all of your content needs rewritten. The name of the game as far as how you optimize for consumer search has changed drastically. This is not traditional SEO. This is evolved. That needs to fix right now. If you're not solving for memberships, if you do not have a distribution source for jobs from other companies that already have an entire network of consumer households that are their customers, these are all the things you've got to solve for, and you've got to do it quick, man. You've got to do it quick.
Listen, reach out to George, reach out to me, reach out to Jen, have a 5-minute discussion with us and see if what you feel is authentic. And I can tell you that we're all coming from the same angle, and we all have different responsibilities in this stewardship, but we all have the same viewpoint, and that is about helping you and making sure that what you've put all your heart and soul into becomes something that you get to pass on to your kids. So, you know, you can absolutely 100% find us on social media.
Not by the jet, though.
Not by what?
Not by the jet, though.
No, not by the jet. No. But, you know, I mean, look, seriously, like, I can tell you that all you got to do is reach out to us, and we're here to help. And we want to help you get what it is that you had as your dream when you set up this business in the first place. So anyway, thank you so much for including me. I'm really glad to be able to rub shoulders with such awesome people like you guys. And, you know, me and George, Jen, we've been friends a long time. George and I have been really close for a really long time. I've worked for him. He's worked for me. And I can tell you that there are no better authentic servants in this industry that I know. So with that being said, thanks for including me. I really appreciate it.
I love spending time with my people. Love you guys.
All right, guys. Good hanging out. We'll see ya.
Thanks, everybody. Adios.